Hi everyone, it's Niamh here and welcome to my art journaling channel. Today we're going to be using some of the new releases from the Dina Wakley release for Creativation 2020 using lots of scraps and offcuts. So I'm starting out in the new blue journal, and you can see this is a page where I've been cleaning off stencils on it with the new gloss acrylic spray inks. And the tissue paper that you can see me gluing down in the background, if you've been watching a few of these videos with the new releases, you will have seen me create these papers. But basically they're just the Dina Wakley tissue paper where I've been spraying on the back and with the new gloss acrylic sprays, and you get these beautiful mottled marbled effects. Because they're acrylic paints, they dry permanent, so I can put the gel medium over them, no problem. It's not going to move or smudge or do anything else. It's just brilliant. And you just get this beautiful effect in the background. So I've just glued down a random assortment of these little scraps that I had sitting around. They were just too pretty not to use, so I had to include them in somewhere. But in my usual way of doing things, I've now completely obliterated them. So I've put some fuchsia paint down. I did water it down slightly to rub over the back, but the reason I did that was because I wanted to do this ghosting technique. So I wanted to put the paint on to cover in the background and then wipe it away so you could get that peak of paint coming through on those painted surfaces. The reason for putting the collage in the background is to get some of those pretty colours coming through and those splots and all sorts coming through, but also for the texture of just having the different layers in the background. So now I'm just going in with the gloss acrylic sprays. I'm using the turquoise and spraying through on my stencil and then pressing off the excess. And you can see I've just put the dirty stencil underneath my page to start a new page. Now I have dirty stencils. I don't mind having dirty stencils. I would highly suggest, if you like having clean stencils, you clean them off straight away, because this will dry permanent and it will stay permanent on your page. So yeah, make sure you do that. If it does dry and you're really concerned about it, use some hand sanitizer on it and that will take the ink off your stencil, but you're best to clean it beforehand. So these paper cuts that you can see are actually from another page that I did just prior to doing this page, which is called the Lace Cut Scribbly Reef. I will link the video to this one. Basically what I did was cut out, using the botanical stencil, these leaf shapes that were supposed to be part of a reef, and these are the leftover pieces. Now, because they're out of the thick cotton rag paper that's in the Dina Wakley journal, they are really, really sturdy, and they are brilliant for then pasting in somewhere else in your book. Quite often, if I've done this, particularly in the small 6x6 journals, I actually use these pieces and paste them onto the front cover, cover everything with a layer of black gesso, and you get like an almost faux embossed look to your journal, which I really, really love. I've put the washi tape around the edge. I did put that down thinking I was going to keep it there, but in the end I actually remove it. The reason I used that one was because it had the blue colours which tied in with the background, but also because it's the same width. When I did the lace cut originally, it was the same width of the border that I used there, so it sort of made sense having the same width border on this. So I'm just using a regular glue to glue this down. I could have used gel medium to do that, but I have used up all my gel medium, so I'm having to wait until I get to the shop to go and replace that. Yeah, so the regular glue just holds it in place perfectly. You can see me just pressing it down a little bit just to make sure it's smooth, but it all works fine. The other thing that I'm trying to find is there is a tiny piece that I cut out that should have gone in that top right hand corner, and I could not find it. I knew I had it somewhere, and I'm sure I will find it someday, but at the moment when I was actually looking for it, I really couldn't find it. So I decided I needed to put something as a bit of a focus on this page. So I decided to use one of these new chipboard butterflies. And you saw me in the back of my journal pulling out some tissue paper. And I have found in my experimentation that these gloss acrylic sprays work brilliantly with the white printed collage tissues. So I've been sort of hoarding them up because I never really used them before, and I've got a whole heap in the back of my journal for when I do things like this. So when I spray, obviously you're going to get an overspray. I've got that sprayed onto my white journal or tissue paper that I can then tear up and use as parts of collage, so nothing's going to waste. You can see I've got a bit of a guide up in front of me as well. That's really important. I have a load of pens and stuff in front of me, which are all covered with ink anyway, because I tend to be a bit messy when I do stuff. But if you want to just protect the rest of the stuff that you're working with, I suggest you either spray in a box or put something around that you don't mind getting messy. The papers that I've actually sprayed over are looking really good at the moment, so I think I might scan them and print them out and use them as collage papers as well. So what I did on the little butterfly was just spray the inks on, and I did dry them off in between. If you put them on wet, they sort of marble together, almost like pouring acrylics. If you dry them off a little bit, they sort of repel against each other because it's on gloss, and you get these really cool effects. And then at the end I just sort of splattered some inks over the top too, because as I said, I'm a bit messy and I love to splatter. So I'm just using some thick the ultra thick gel medium to glue this down. Because the chipboard's a little bit more bulky and it's sitting on top of those paper cutouts as well, I just wanted it to be that little bit firmer with the glue that I was using to stick it down. So when I got to this stage, I decided I didn't want to keep the washi on. I wanted just to have the border around, but I did want to write something in it. So I used the Be Vivid collage tissue paper and glued that down. I just used some matte gel medium to glue that down. I've got a bit of a weight on top of it because I wasn't all that generous. As you saw, my gel medium was quite empty, so I do need to top that one up too. So I quickly got my phone out and grabbed, I went on to Pinterest, which I tend to go to find a lot of quotes, and I found a quote about butterflies becoming something. I've got the journal next to me. I better open up and actually find out what I said. Perhaps a butterfly is proof that we all go through a great deal of change and darkness and still become beautiful, I think is mostly the quote. Just as a bit of a border around. I would suggest though, you did notice me getting my arm in the black paint, so just be aware that when you've got wet stuff, try not to do that. So it's a great way to use up your paper cuts. Cutting into these journals are lots and lots of fun, and using your scraps is a bit of a collage, lots of fun too. Please, if you enjoyed this, please check out all the other projects I've got in my Dina Wakely playlist for Creativation 2020. Until next time, bye for now.